Hello everybody, welcome to Josh Dell'Aria's Musical Escapades. My name's Josh Dell'Aria, your host, and today I actually am not going to bring up a musician, but rather instead a historical figure that I think is very influential in the music industry today. This man was Edward Bernays, and he was born in Austria, but he immigrated with his family to America when he was 2 years old, so he essentially spent the vast majority of his life as an American. And over his lifetime, he basically became known as the father of public relations. As a matter of fact, many of the philosophies that are now used in public relations in this day and age were actually espoused by Mr. Bernays. And they've been carried down through all these generations from when he lived. He was actually born in the late 1800s. Died, I think he was actually over 100 years old before he died. And all that he had done has really been carried down very well into public relations today. Now, if you've never heard of Edward Bernays before, don't worry about it. I never did either until last year when Mark Levin wrote his new book, Unfreedom of the Press, and I have started reading it, obviously. And one of the chapters that Levin writes about pertains in many ways to Edward Bernays, especially as relates to propaganda and obviously public opinion. Now, my goal is not necessarily to sway you one way or another into agreeing with Edward Bernays or disagreeing with Edward Bernays, but my goal in doing this video is to present his beliefs in a way that you can understand them clearly so that you know where they're coming from and you can decide for yourself whether or not you agree with Mr. Bernays. And I'll be using Levin's book as a reference, but Levin does have many direct quotations from one of Bernays' books listed in his book, so a lot of these philosophies that I will be going over actually do directly come from Bernays himself. And when I first read a lot of these quotes from Bernays, it really struck me how deeply entrenched a lot of these philosophies are in PR in the music industry. And so I wanted to point them out here because I think a lot of times both musicians and music fans take them for granted in a lot of cases. And I really think that can kind of lead to a very skewed idea, or at least a skewed understanding of just how good of quality a musician can be. So one of the things Bernays says in his books is, quote, "The minority has discovered a powerful help in influencing majorities. It has been found possible so to mold the mind of the masses that they will throw their newly gained strength in the desired direction. In the present structure of society, this practice is inevitable. Whatever of social importance is done today, whether in politics, finance, manufacture, agriculture, charity, education, or other fields, must be done with the help of propaganda. Propaganda is the executive arm of the invisible government." Now, by minority, Bernays is not referring to racial or ethnic minorities, like black or white, but what he's referring to is a minority of people, meaning a small group of people, and majority, the larger, broader group of people. He's actually talking about an intellectual minority, the minority of elites at the top, basically saying that those are the people who know everything, and that all the other people in the world, all the masses, as he would say, are essentially uneducated and need the help of the educated minority to help them understand anything that's complicated. Essentially, what Bernays is saying in this is that if you're just an average, everyday, ordinary person, you're not capable of educating yourself to the point where you have a clear understanding of a particular issue or topic or anything like that. And as a result, Bernays concludes, and I quote again, "Clearly it is the intelligent minorities which need to make use of propaganda continuously and systematically. In the active proselytizing minorities in whom selfish interests and public interests coincide lie the progress and development of America." And here's the key. "Only through the active energy of the intelligent few can the public at large become aware of and act upon new ideas." End quote. And what Bernays is implying in that is that those who are in that educated minority, so to speak, can essentially direct the beliefs of those in the majority. See, Bernays believed that in order for society to function properly, all of the majority had to truly, I guess in that sense, believe the same exact principles and the same exact laws and everything, the same exact beliefs. And in order for that to be directed, they needed to listen to the educated minority. And so they all needed to be united in that sense. And as he says, propaganda, quote, takes account not merely of the individual, nor even of the mass mind alone, but also and especially of the anatomy of society, with its interlocking group formations and loyalties. It sees the individual not only as a cell in the social organism, but as a cell organized in the social unit. Touch a nerve at a sensitive spot, and you get an automatic response from certain specific members of the organism, end quote. I hope this is striking a chord with a lot of you who are watching right now, because I'm sure that you've probably never heard things expressed in this manner, but you kind of always knew that those subtleties were there in music. And I think this applies both to musicians and music fans in that regard, because for musicians, I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard from publicity people or producers or somebody in that field who will look at your music and on its face, not by the merits of the music, but by what you're actually talking about, they'll say, "Oh, such and such a thing won't sell because it's not popular in the market." Or you should sing such and such a thing because it's going to sell and it's going to make you lots of money. And you like money, right? Which I'm not saying that money is a bad thing necessarily, or that you shouldn't try to get music that sells, but I've never been that much of a fan of that kind of music because I know it's 90% of the time it's just not authentic. And I just can't stand music that's not authentic. But the real question that I want to ask, and I want you guys to ask yourselves, is are all these philosophies correct? Is it true that this so-called uneducated majority is really incapable of being able to be educated about particular topics? Is it true that they need this educated minority, so-called, to be able to educate them? In order for society to function, is it necessary for everybody in this so-called majority to be thinking alike in all the same ways? Or is it possible that there can be individual differences among different individuals, and the society can still function properly? Now, given the fact that it's possible for two different people to look at the same song and create two different opinions, I think it's very much possible that there can be individual differences and still a functioning society in life. So, in my opinion, when a lot of producers say certain things like, such and such won't sell, or such and such will sell, so you should go ahead and sing it, when they encourage or discourage musicians to sing or not to sing different things, it makes very little sense to me because there's always somebody out there who's willing to listen to something that sounds really, really good. For you musicians out there, I'm sure that you've probably been told by some producer that either what you're planning on writing won't sell, or you should write about a particular topic because it will sell and it will get you lots of money. But the thing is, if what you're writing about is not genuine, then no matter how well you write the song, it's just not going to come out right. So my advice to you is that if you're being asked to write about something that's not genuine and you don't really have a good connection to, don't write about it. It's gonna sound bad. And for those of you who are just music fans out there, and you don't write music or anything, go and look at the iTunes Store homepage, the very first page that you come up and see. Tell me how much stuff on that homepage that you are actually interested in looking at. Because I can tell you, for me, I can tell you that probably 99% of the stuff on that homepage I have no care for, because I know that it's just complete crap. And so that's why I don't even bother really a lot with the homepage, because everything that seems to be pushed out there is this whole manifestation of what the media kind of want us to believe, and it's not necessarily genuine to the musicians that are out there and creating all sorts of a variety of music and a whole bunch of different beliefs and different ideas. And so I really think that the music industry in that instance, or at least in that regard, is cheating us. Now, all that said, I do believe there's at least some value in public relations. I have my I'm With Her hat on. I have my Heather Maloney t-shirt on right now. Obviously, that means that I believe in people's ability to publicize themselves, and I think that does help people at least know the band. But even if you know the band, it doesn't necessarily mean you should like it, because if their music's horrible, then why like the band? At the same time, it's just that's kind of the way that I have kind of figured things out in the last couple of years, is that I've heard a lot of bands that have been really, really hyped up, and I might do another video on this, but I have no idea yet, that have been really, really hyped up, but I just don't see why based on the quality of their music. I could see it based on other things, like maybe they have decent publicity, or that they have certain personality traits about them that people seem to like. But if their music's not good, I don't see the point in actually liking them and trying to find more of their stuff, and in all honesty, I don't really see the point in supporting them. So in the end, I really have to disagree with Bernays on a lot of his policies. I kind of think he's full of crap, because in all honesty, I really believe that it is true that we as individuals are capable of making decisions for ourselves about who we like and what we like to write about, or what we like to think, or what we think is correct, and all that sort of stuff really comes out in a lot of that music that I've been listening to year after year after year. So what do you think? Am I kind of nuts for going into this guy's history and saying that I'm disagreeing with him? Do you guys like Edward Bernays? Or are you kind of in the same boat as I am, where you think he's kind of a nutcase? Tell me in the comments below. I want to know what you think, especially if you disagree with me, because I want to talk that stuff out and have a more informed opinion, instead of potentially missing out on some of the things that could be said from the other side. And as always, if you want your music featured here on the show, or if you know somebody that you think their music's awesome and you want them featured here on the show too, there's 3 easy ways to get in touch with me. One of them, you can go ahead and email me here at joshdell'ariasmusicalescapades@gmail.com. The second way is you can send me a Facebook message. My Facebook page here is facebook.com/JoshD'sMusicalEscapades, or you can leave it down in the comments below. And one way or another, whatever way you get it to me, I'm going to go ahead and listen to it, and if I like it enough, I'm going to get it on here on the show. So, thank you very much, all of you, for watching. I appreciate it. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments, and until next time, go make great music, everybody.